The acrid smell of burnt circuitry filled the maintenance shaft as Maya Chen worked her way through Station Arcturus's lower decks. At 17, she was the youngest member of the station's engineering crew. But what she lacked in experience she made up for in determination and an uncanny ability to navigate the station's labyrinthine service corridors. "Another fried power coupling," she muttered, wiping sweat from her brow. The station's ancient systems were constantly failing, keeping her busy during the long night shifts when most of the station's 10,000 inhabitants slept. She preferred it this way. The solitude gave her time to think, to work through problems without the constant scrutiny of the more experienced engineers. The sound of labored breathing stopped her cold. Maya froze, her hand instinctively tightening around her plasma torch. These lower levels were restricted. No one should be down here except maintenance personnel. The breathing came again, ragged and wet, followed by a soft whimper that definitely wasn't human. Maya's curiosity overcame her caution. Following the sound, she crawled through a narrow access tunnel until she reached a small maintenance hub. There, crumpled against a junction box, lay a creature unlike any alien she'd encountered during her 3 years on the station. The being was tall and elegant, even in its current state of distress. Its skin shimmered with an iridescent quality that reminded Maya of mother of pearl, while delicate, fin-like appendages lay flat against its skull. But what caught Maya's attention were its eyes. 3 of them, arranged in a triangle pattern, each one filled with an intelligence and pain that transcended species barriers. "Please," the creature whispered in perfect standard, its voice carrying an almost musical quality despite its obvious distress. "I mean no harm." Maya quickly assessed the situation. The alien was injured. A nasty-looking burn covered much of its left side, and its breathing was becoming more labored by the moment. Station protocol dictated that she should immediately report any unauthorized persons in restricted areas. But something in those 3 eyes made her hesitate. "I'm Maya," she said softly, kneeling beside the injured alien. "I can help you, but you'll need to trust me." The alien's central eye fixed on her face. "Why would you help me? You know nothing about me." "Because you're hurt," Maya replied simply. "And because anyone hiding in maintenance shafts instead of going to medical probably has a good reason for doing so." A weak laugh escaped the alien. Perceptive, for one so young. Was Kathera, though that name means little now. Maya began pulling medical supplies from her utility belt. Another protocol violation, as maintenance workers weren't supposed to carry advanced first aid kits. But she'd learned early on that in the lower decks, help could be hours away if something went wrong. As she worked to treat the burn, Kathera gradually revealed fragments of her story. She was Valictrian, from a highly advanced civilization in the Carina arm of the galaxy. Her people were known for their technological achievements and their strictly hierarchical society. What she didn't say, but Maya pieced together from careful observation, was that she was someone of great importance who had fallen very far indeed. "The burn isn't as bad as it looks," Maya said finally, applying the last of her regenerative gel. "But you can't stay here. The next maintenance shift will be through in 6 hours, and they're a lot more dedicated to following protocols than I am." Thera's fin-like appendages rippled, a gesture Maya would later learn indicated deep thought. "I have nowhere else to go. Those who hunt me, they will be watching the public areas." Maya made a decision that would change not only her life, but the future of human-alien relations throughout the galaxy. "I know a place. It's not comfortable, but it's safe. More importantly, it's off every official station map ever made." She helped Kathera to her feet, supporting the much taller alien as they made their way through the service corridors. Maya had discovered the forgotten storage compartment during her first month on the station, a relic of the original construction that had been walled off during later renovations. She'd converted it into a private retreat, a place to escape when the pressures of being the youngest and most scrutinized member of the engineering crew became too much. As they settled Kathera into the makeshift sanctuary, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she'd stumbled into something much bigger than a simple case of an injured refugee. The way Cthera carried herself, the subtle hints of authority that showed through despite her weakened state. This was someone used to wielding power. Rest, Maya told her new charge. I'll bring food and proper medical supplies when my shift ends. And Cthera, whatever you're running from, whatever brought you here, I want you to know that humans aren't all about protocols and regulations. Sometimes we just help because we can. Cthera's 3 eyes blinked in sequence, and her fins lifted slightly. Perhaps, she said softly, that is why your species continues to surprise us, despite our presumed superiority. You act not from calculation or obligation, but from something we lost long ago. As Maya made her way back to her assigned maintenance route, she couldn't know that this encounter would soon put her at the center of a galactic power struggle. She couldn't know that her simple act of compassion would challenge generations of alien prejudice about humanity's place in the cosmos. She only knew that someone needed help, and she could provide it. Sometimes that was enough to change everything. 3 days after finding Cthera, Maya's carefully structured life had become a delicate balancing act. Every spare moment between shifts was spent tending to her secret guest, smuggling supplies through the maintenance tunnels, and trying to avoid the increasingly suspicious glances from her fellow engineers. The stress was wearing on her, but Cthera's steady recovery made it worthwhile. The station's normal routine shattered with the arrival of a Valatrian diplomatic vessel. Maya watched from her maintenance post as the delegation swept through the main concourse, their iridescent robes and proud bearing drawing every eye. Unlike Cthera, who carried her dignity like a quiet strength, these Valatrians wore their superiority like armor. Primitive architecture, one of them sneered, loud enough for everyone to hear. To think these humans believed themselves ready for galactic society. Maya's hands tightened on her tools, but she kept working. She'd learned early on that station maintenance workers were practically invisible to most visitors. Now that invisibility became an advantage as she listened to their conversations, gathering information that might help Cthera. The delegation's leader, Commander Zarek, proved particularly vocal about humanity's shortcomings. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They stumbled into space travel through brute force and luck, nothing more. Even their children perform maintenance tasks because they lack proper automation. Maya bit back a retort. The Valatrians' much-vaunted automation had failed to notice Cthera's hidden sanctuary, after all. Their arrogance blinded them to the advantages of human ingenuity and hands-on problem-solving. That evening, as Maya brought fresh supplies to Cthera, she found her mentor more agitated than usual. Zarek was my brother's most loyal commander, Cthera explained, her fins rippling with distress. He helped orchestrate the coup that forced me into exile. His presence here is no coincidence. They're searching for you, Maya realized. But why come to a human station? They clearly don't think much of us. Cthera's 3 eyes focused on different points in the room, a sign of deep emotion among her people. That precisely is why. They believe humans too primitive to hide someone of my importance. Their prejudice becomes our shield. Over the next few days, Maya used her access to station systems to track the delegation's movements. She noticed them paying particular attention to the upper levels, the luxury quarters and diplomatic sections. Their systematic search never ventured into the maintenance areas. Such places were beneath their dignity. But their presence had other effects. The station's human crew members grew increasingly resentful of the Valatrians' constant condescension. Maya heard frustrated conversations in the maintenance break room, saw the strain on her colleagues' faces as they endured yet another dismissive comment or arrogant demand. They treat us like we're stupid, her friend Marcus complained during their shared lunch break. Yesterday, one of them actually said I was surprisingly capable for a human because I fixed their environmental controls. As if they expected me to bash it with a rock instead of using proper tools. Maya listened sympathetically while her mind raced. The growing tensions could work in their favor. The Valatrians' arrogance made them predictable, but it also increased the risk of discovery. One wrong move, one burst of human indignation at the wrong moment, could expose Cthera's presence. During their evening conversations, Cthera shared more about Valictrian society and the events that led to her exile. She had been pushing for reforms, trying to modernize their rigid hierarchical system and open diplomatic relations with lesser species like humans. Her brother, seeing an opportunity, had branded her a traitor to their species' superiority and seized power. The irony, Cthera mused, is that our supposed superiority has become our greatest weakness. We've stopped adapting, stopped learning from others. We build ever more sophisticated machines to do our work, then wonder why we've lost the ability to solve novel problems. Maya thought about the station's aging systems, held together by human hands and human ingenuity. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones, she said. And sometimes strength comes from admitting you need help. The conversation was interrupted by a sudden commotion in the corridors above. Emergency alerts flashed across Maya's tablet. A catastrophic failure in the station's main power distribution hub. As automated systems failed one by one, she heard Zarek's voice over the station-wide comm, demanding that humans step aside and let Valictrian engineers handle the crisis. Maya's eyes met Cthera's. They both knew this was more than a simple malfunction. This was a test, one that would prove whether humanity's primitive methods could succeed where Valictrian technology failed. "Go," Cthera said softly. "Show them what humans can do." Maya grabbed her tools and headed for the power hub, her mind already racing through possible solutions. She didn't know it yet, but she was about to demonstrate why the Valictrians' dismissal of human capabilities was their greatest mistake, and why Cthera's faith in humanity's potential hadn't been misplaced. The power hub was chaos when Maya arrived. Valictrian engineers hovered over their sophisticated diagnostic equipment, their fins twitching in frustration as their devices failed to identify the problem. Station crew members stood back, forced to watch as their home systems crashed one by one. Maya assessed the situation quickly. The main power distribution node was completely dead, its backup systems offline. Environmental controls were failing throughout the station's residential sections. They had maybe an hour before life support would be compromised. "Step aside, human," Commander Zarek ordered as Maya approached the control panel. "This requires expertise beyond your primitive understanding." Maya ignored him, her hands already moving across the manual override controls. Years of maintaining the station's aging systems had taught her to trust her instincts. The pattern of the failure seemed familiar. She'd seen something similar in the lower decks last month. "I said step aside." Zarek grabbed her shoulder, but Maya shrugged him off. "With respect, Commander," she said, continuing to work. "While your engineers are still running diagnostics, people could die. We don't have time for protocol." Her fingers flew over the controls, bypassing automated systems and rerouting power through auxiliary channels. It wasn't elegant, but it would work. She'd learned from Cthera that Valictrian technology relied heavily on quantum computational networks, brilliant but vulnerable to certain types of cascade failures. "There," she said, stepping back as lights flickered back to life throughout the station. "The power distribution is stabilized. It's running at 70% capacity through manual routing, which should hold until we can repair the main node." The Valictrian engineers stared at their readings in disbelief. Zarek's fins lay flat against his skull, a sign of suppressed rage. Maya had learned from Cthera. "Impossible. Our diagnostics showed the system was completely corrupted." "Sometimes you have to look past the diagnostics," Maya replied. "The station's old systems don't always play nice with newer technology. We've learned to work around that." The incident marked a turning point. Word spread quickly through the station about how a human maintenance worker had succeeded where Valictrian expertise had failed. Maya found herself receiving respectful nods from aliens who had previously looked through her as if she didn't exist. But with recognition came danger. Zarek began taking an uncomfortable interest in her activities, questioning her supervisors about her background and movements around the station. Maya had to be increasingly careful about her visits to Cthulhu, varying her routes and timing to avoid detection. "They're growing suspicious," Thera warned during one of their brief meetings. "Zarek never could accept being proven wrong. He'll be watching you closely now." Maya nodded, sharing her own concerns. The power failure wasn't natural, was it? The pattern was too similar to problems I've seen before, but this time it affected the entire station. "No." Cthulhu's central eye fixed on Maya, while the others scanned their surroundings. "It was a test, though not the one they claimed. They wanted to prove human inefficiency, to justify taking greater control of the station's operations. You surprised them. And now they're wondering how a primitive human could understand their systems so well," Maya concluded. "They might start wondering who could have taught me." The situation grew more tense over the following days. More accidents occurred throughout the station, each seemingly designed to demonstrate human inadequacy. Each time, station crew members found solutions that the Valatrians had overlooked, often using improvised tools and unconventional methods. Maya began noticing other changes too. Junior members of the Valatrian delegation started approaching human crew members quietly, asking questions about their repair methods. Some even requested informal tutorials, though they were careful to do so out of Zarek's sight. "Your people are natural teachers," Thera observed after Maya described these interactions. "You share knowledge freely, without concern for status or protocol. It's refreshing." But not everyone was pleased with these developments. Zarek and his inner circle became increasingly hostile, implementing stricter security measures and demanding access to station maintenance logs. Maya knew they were looking for patterns, trying to understand how humans were succeeding where they should have failed. The breaking point came when Maya discovered a hidden surveillance program embedded in the station's communication system. The Valatrians weren't just looking for Cthulhu. They were gathering intelligence on human technical capabilities, preparing to make a case that the station should be placed under Valatrian control for safety reasons. "They see us as a threat now," Maya told Cthulhu during a hurried midnight meeting. "Not because we're more advanced, but because we're different. Because we can solve problems in ways they don't expect." Cthulhu's fins rippled with concern. "My brother fears anything he can't control. If humans continue to demonstrate independence and ingenuity, he will move against this station. We're running out of time." Maya straightened her shoulders, a plan already forming in her mind. "Then maybe it's time we stop hiding. Time we show them exactly what humans and Valatrians can accomplish when we work together instead of against each other." The look in Cthulhu's three eyes told Maya she had similar thoughts. The game of hide and seek was ending. Now it would become a test of whether human adaptability and Valatrian technology could combine to create something greater than either alone. As Maya left their hidden sanctuary that night, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency protocols activated, sealing off entire sections. Zarek's voice echoed through the corridors, announcing that the station was now under Valatrian emergency authority. The time for secrecy was over. The real battle for Station Arcturus and the future of human-Valatrian relations was about to begin. Station Arcturus transformed into a battlefield overnight, though not the kind anyone expected. As Zarek's forces moved to secure critical systems, they found themselves facing not weapons, but the combined ingenuity of humans and sympathetic Valatrians working in silent concert. Maya orchestrated much of the resistance from the maintenance tunnels, using her intimate knowledge of the station's systems to stay one step ahead of the takeover. Critical data disappeared from main computers, only to resurface in isolated backup systems. Security protocols activated randomly, trapping Zarek's soldiers in corridors and turbolifts. "They're trying to lock us out of auxiliary control," Marcus reported through their improvised communication network, a system of repurposed maintenance sensors that the Valatrians' sophisticated scanners couldn't detect. But they can't override the manual controls without risking a complete system failure. "Keep them busy," Maya instructed. "The longer they focus on technology, the longer they overlook the real threat." That threat was materializing in the form of an underground resistance. Junior Valictrian engineers, impressed by human adaptability and disillusioned with their leadership's rigid thinking, began secretly sharing information about their own system's vulnerabilities. Station crew members taught them in return about human problem-solving methods, creating a hybrid approach that neither side could have achieved alone. Thera proved invaluable, her deep understanding of Valictrian politics and technology helping to coordinate these unlikely allies. From their hidden sanctuary, she and Maya developed a plan that would either save the station or condemn them all as traitors to both species. Your brother's authority rests on the myth of Valictrian superiority, Maya said during one of their strategy sessions. But what if we could prove that true superiority comes from cooperation, not isolation? Cathera's fins rippled with appreciation. You propose to use his own prejudices against him, but it will be dangerous. If we fail, everyone who has helped us will suffer. Then we don't fail, Maya replied simply, showing that human determination that had first drawn Cathera's respect. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Zarek, frustrated by his force's inability to gain full control of the station, announced a public demonstration of Valictrian power. He would use their advanced technology to optimize the station's systems, proving once and for all the superiority of their methods. Let them come, Cathera said when Maya brought the news. It's time to show my people a different kind of strength. The demonstration was set for the station's main concourse. As Zarek's engineers began interfacing their quantum computers with the station's network, Maya's resistance put their plan into action. Hidden programs, crafted by human and Valictrian hands working together, began subtly altering the station's responses to Valictrian commands. At first, everything seemed to be working as Zarek intended. Station systems responded faster, power distribution became more efficient. He stood before the gathered crowd, his fins extended in triumph. Behold the difference between true civilization and primitive tinkering, he announced. This is why we must assume control, for your own protection and advancement. That's when Cathera made her move. Stepping out of the maintenance access way where she'd hidden, she walked calmly into the center of the concourse. Maya held her breath, watching from her position near the environmental controls. Is this civilization, brother? Cathera's voice rang out. Using force to impose your will, rejecting wisdom because it comes from those you consider beneath you. The crowd gasped. Zarek's fins flattened against his skull in shock and rage. The traitor, seize her. But as his guards moved forward, the station's systems began to change. Displays throughout the concourse lit up, showing side-by-side comparisons of pure Valictrian methods versus the hybrid solutions developed by the Resistance. In every case, the cooperative approach proved more efficient, more adaptable, more elegant. Look at what we can achieve together, Cathera continued, her three eyes sweeping the crowd. While you clung to purity, I learned from these humans. Their primitive methods solve problems our greatest computers cannot. Their willingness to share knowledge, to adapt and grow, makes them stronger than any technology. The younger Valictrians in the crowd began moving to stand with her, their fins rippling in support. Station crew members emerged from their hiding places, standing shoulder to shoulder with their alien allies. Maya stepped forward to join them, tool belt still slung across her hips. This is the future, Cathera declared. Not Valictrian, not human, but something greater. A civilization that draws strength from diversity, that grows through cooperation rather than conquest. Zarek laughed, but there was an edge of desperation in it. Pretty words, sister. But words don't change reality. Our technology still controls this station. Maya smiled. Are you sure about that? At her signal, the Resistance activated their final program. Throughout the station, Valictrian control systems went dark, replaced by the hybrid interfaces they'd developed. Zarek's engineers frantically worked their quantum computers, but found themselves locked out of every system. You see, Commander, Maya said, stepping forward, while you were focused on proving your superiority, we were learning from each other. Your systems are amazing, but they have blind spots. Human systems are simple, but flexible. Together, they're unbeatable. The standoff had reached its critical moment. Zarek's guards looked uncertainly between their commander and Kythera, while more station residents arrived to witness the confrontation. The future of both species hung in the balance, waiting to see which vision of civilization would prevail. The silence in Station Arcturus's main concourse stretched taut as a power coupling. Commander Zarek stood frozen, his fins rigid with fury as he faced the impossible, his sister alive, his plans unraveling, and his certainties about human inferiority crumbling before his eyes. "You've forgotten our people's greatest strength, brother," Kythera said softly. "Not our technology, not our supposed superiority, but our ability to grow, to learn, to evolve. These humans you dismiss as primitive. They've taught me more about true advancement in weeks than I learned in decades at court." Maya watched the younger Velitrians in the crowd nodding, their fins rippling in agreement. Even some of Zarek's own guards seemed swayed, their weapon arms lowering slightly. "Treachery," Zarek spat. "You've corrupted our people with human weakness. Our father would be ashamed." "Our father," Kythera countered, "taught us that strength lies in wisdom, not force. Look around you, brother. Look at what humans and Velitrians have achieved together in just days. Their primitive knowledge combined with our advanced technology has created something entirely new." As if to emphasize her point, the station's systems hummed with unprecedented efficiency. The hybrid interfaces developed by the Resistance displayed real-time data showing power usage at record lows, while life support and artificial gravity remained more stable than ever. "It's not too late." Maya stepped forward, her voice clear and steady. "Commander, you came here believing you'd find proof of human inadequacy. Instead, you found proof that neither of our species has all the answers. But together, we're stronger than either of us alone." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. More Velitrians moved to stand with Kythera, including several of Zarek's senior engineers. They had seen firsthand how human intuition and hands-on experience complemented their advanced technology. Zarek's fins trembled as he watched his support erode. "You would throw away generations of progress, contaminate our pure technology with human crudeness." "Progress." Kythera's three eyes fixed on her brother. "What progress is there in stagnation? While we isolated ourselves in technological perfection, humans learned to adapt, to improvise, to see solutions where we saw only problems. They don't fear imperfection. They learn from it." Maya noticed movement at the corners of her vision. Throughout the concourse, humans and Velitrians were working together, quietly strengthening their hybrid systems. Station crew members explained manual overrides to fascinated Velitrian engineers, while young Velitrians helped humans understand the principles behind their quantum computers. "Your coup failed, brother," Kythera continued, her voice gentler now. "Not because of superior force or technology, but because you never understood that true strength comes from unity, not division. These humans you dismissed, they showed me kindness when I was nothing but a beggar. They judged me by my actions, not my status. They taught me that leadership isn't about maintaining power, it's about empowering others." Zarek looked around wildly, seeing his remaining loyal guards surrounded by the combined force of station security and his own converted troops. His fins drooped in defeat. "So this is how it ends. Our civilization brought low by human sentiment." "No," Maya said firmly. "This is how it begins. A new civilization, stronger than either of ours alone. You saw our differences as weaknesses. We've proven their strengths." Kythera stepped forward, reaching out to her brother. "Join us. Help us build something greater than pure Velitrian or pure human society. Help us prove that the next step in evolution isn't isolation, but cooperation." The next hours passed in a blur of activity. Zarek, seeing no alternative, surrendered command. Communications were established with the Velitrian homeworld, where Kythera's supporters had already begun spreading word of the successful cooperation on Station Arcturus. The hybrid systems developed by the Resistance were documented and shared, proving their superiority to skeptics on both sides. Months later, Maya stood in her familiar maintenance shaft, training a mixed group of human and Valictrian apprentices. The station had become a symbol of interspecies cooperation, a model for other facilities throughout the galaxy. Sometimes the best solutions aren't the most obvious ones, she told her students, watching them work together to solve a complex power distribution problem. Sometimes strength comes from admitting what you don't know and being willing to learn from others. Kythera, now restored to her rightful position, but choosing to remain on Arcturus as an ambassador, often visited these training sessions. She would smile at Maya with all three eyes, her fins rippling with pride as she watched former enemies become colleagues, teachers, friends. The story of the beggar queen and the human maintenance worker spread throughout the galaxy, though few knew the full truth of those tense days on Station Arcturus. But the lesson lived on. True advancement comes not from claiming superiority, but from recognizing that every species, every individual, has something valuable to teach. As for Maya, she continued her work in the station's maintenance shafts, though now she was chief engineer rather than a junior technician. She kept her old habits, preferring hands-on work to administrative duties, and if sometimes she smiled at the memory of an injured alien hiding in the darkness, or the way a simple act of kindness had changed the course of two civilizations, well, that was just another secret of the maintenance tunnels. The legacy of those events lived on in the station's motto, written in both human and Valictrian script above the main concourse: progress through unity, strength through understanding. It was a reminder that the greatest achievements come not from standing alone in supposed superiority, but from joining hands, or fins, and facing the future together.